Hello friends, welcome back to Galanthus Knits. My name is Michaela and it is mid-January. So I thought I would just do a little mid-January project update acquisition type video, like a normal kind of podcasting video, which I feel like I haven't done for a little while just because we had holidays and things like that. And so get you caught up on some of the things that are going on. I am recording in my daughter's bedroom, as you can see, because we go where the light is best. And we actually haven't had any snow yet this year in our town. If you go up the mountain just a little bit, you'll find it right away. So it's not far from us, but in town we haven't had any snow yet, which is a bit weird. We usually do have snow by this point. But there is a frost on the ground right now, so that might be casting like a bluish tone onto me. So if the video looks maybe a bit, I don't know, bluer or frostier than normal, that's why. And we're in mid-January, so it kind of suits it. I'm not wearing anything knitted right now, just a yellow top. I got kind of warm setting up all the things that needed to be set up before this could happen, so I'm not wearing anything knitted, which is fine. I don't have to always. So since last we spoke, I've been wrapping up some of those baby gift knits for babies that are either about to be born or had just been born a couple weeks ago. So there's those to talk about, and I casted on a kind of spur of the moment project for me, which is kind of fun, and I like the way that it's turning out, so that's great. And then there's a few acquisitions as well, so I'm gonna show you all of those things. Oh, I did also just finish a cardigan for my daughter. Actually, I'll be right back because I need to get something for that. Okay, so I wanted to knit my daughter the Gooseberry cardigan by Knitting for Olive, and I've had my eye on that cardigan for a while. And I bought some yarn for it, the Mode at Rowan Alpinepaca yarn. I think I did show it. I showed it 2 videos ago on what that yarn was. So it was in the color fawn, and I was going to knit the Gooseberry cardigan. So I did actually start knitting it, and it starts at the bottom with this kind of lacy and bobbly bottom band. It's kind of hard to tell. This obviously isn't blocked, it's just a piece. But it's just leaves on the bottom running all the way across, and then some like berries, like bauble berries on the top. And that was supposed to go around the bottom of the cardigan. Now, I started knitting it in the size 1 to 2 years, I believe. No, sorry, 2 to 3 years, because she's going to be 2 in the summer, so she'll be moving into that size. And it was absolutely massive. Like, the circumference of this was absolutely massive. And so I was like, this is not right. So I ended up ripping back a little bit and going with, I think, the 1 to 2 years, because I'm like, it's just going to be much too big. And also I don't have enough yarn to make it that big. So I ripped back and then I started knitting it. So you attach, after you finish the band, you pick up stitches along the edge and then you work up the cardigan that way. And I started knitting it and I was like, this is still way too big. And I checked my gauge, I double checked my gauge swatch and everything was good. But it was absolutely massive, and I was like very quickly running out of yarn. So I went to Ravelry and I kind of looked at some of the project notes for the Gooseberry cardigan from other people who had made it, and they had also said that it was running large. So that kind of discouraged me from completing or like continuing on with that project, because I knew I didn't have enough yarn to finish it, and I had bought the last of the skeins from my local knit shop, so I didn't have a chance to go get the same yarn again. And my local knit shop is quite slow at restocking what's been bought, so I was like, okay, let's just move past this and do something different. So I haven't ripped back this band yet, but I did actually knit up and complete a cardigan for my daughter in a different pattern, and this is it. So this is the Ellen's cardigan by PetiteKnit, but I did some modifications. I did not include the buttons that are supposed to be worked in, and I've knitted the Ellen's cardigan before, so it's not a new pattern. And then I did like a seed stitch or a moss stitch edging around the entire thing. Like the button bands, the bottom, the cuffs, the neckline all have this like seed moss stitch because that's one of the reasons I liked the Gooseberry cardigan, is that it had that lace motif on the bottom and then also the seed stitch all along the edge. I just thought that was really a really nice different type of touch. So I did that. Yeah. So it's kind of a plain cardigan. It doesn't have the gooseberry motif at the bottom. And I did consider attaching part of this. I would have to rip back because it is way too big. But I just decided not to. I like it the way it is. Now, the reason why I wanted to knit my daughter a brown cardigan, 2 reasons. And these are the reasons. One is that I spend a lot of time in the garden in the springtime, and I want her to enjoy that space with me without any fear of getting things super gross or dirty. And so brown masks that quite a bit, and obviously in the spring it's not going to be warm enough for her not to wear a sweater. So this will be kind of her gardening sweater. And then the second reason is because I picked up these buttons at La Mercerie on Bainbridge Island in the summertime when I went to Flock Fiber Festival in Seattle, and I love them, and I know she will love them. I actually haven't shown her this cardigan yet, so she will love them, but I'll show you what they look like. They are little brown bunnies. So I picked up 5 of them. And they seem to be ceramic, I think. They're definitely not plastic. Or like maybe a bone, some sort of bone material. Anyway, they're not plastic. They're quite nice. And yeah, I wanted a color to go also with the bunny rabbits. So this will be her little spring garden cardigan. And I think it is too big for her right now at 18 months. But I wanted something that would be oversized now that she could also work into wearing in the next cold season. So like next autumn, winter, spring. So, and I think that will work beautifully. So I finished that. And then, but before I finished that, I also used the same yarn to knit a baby cardigan for a little girl at my church who was just born. So I did show this in the last episode because I had talked about how I knitted that baby something else in a yellow yarn, and then I lost the extra skein that I had, so I had to start over. So this is that cardigan that I started over. Still haven't found the yellow skein, but yeah, it's the Bella baby cardigan. This will be the kind of last time I talk about this project because it's finished, and I'm going to give it to the little girl next time I see her mom. I'm just going to continue to bring it to church until they come, so just in case. Yeah, and then I just put some like kind of brownish toned plastic buttons on. I was gonna do my classic wooden button, but the tones didn't match, so I picked these up instead. Okay, so that's that one. I'm just gonna rapid fire through the last couple of baby knits that I have so we can get to what I really want to talk about. So if you are here just for adult knits and some exciting things that I have to share in regards to that, maybe skip ahead to this time so that you don't have to hear me ramble about a couple more baby knits, okay? And I'm fine with that, like not everyone's interested in baby knits. Okay, next is the next almost finished one that I have. Here we go. Da, 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 da. Simple gray cardigan, because the mama didn't know if she was having a girl or a boy. So she asked for neutrals. And so I did this gray, which is a yarn that's escaping me right now, but I will write it down next to me, like right here or something. And the baby was born 6 weeks early. So they're in the hospital still. But the baby ended up being a girl. So I think what I'm going to do is do a little bit of embroidery on this cardigan to make it a slightly feminine leaning. Yeah, I was thinking maybe, I don't know, my embroidery skills are like subpar, so I can't do anything too complicated, but I was thinking a little like white goose with a ribbon around its neck or something at the bottom of the cardigan. Maybe. I might attempt that. I'll do like a practice run, but this cardigan just needs buttons, buttonholes, and then a little bit of feminine embellishment. So that, and that was, I used Ellen's playset pattern by PetiteKnit for that cardigan, but that pattern has like little eyelet details and I just omitted those. Last baby knit, I promise. Same thing, Ellen's playset, omitting the eyelets, but for a definite baby girl, not blocked, you know, looking raggedy. So it needs button bands and it needs a sleeve to be finished. And then on this one, I'm gonna embroider tiny little white daisies because I happen to know that those little oxeye daisies are this mama's favorite flower. So I figured that, and this is her first girl. She's had 2 boys, and so this is her first little girl that she gets to put into pink and flowers and things like that. So I think that will be quite nice. That baby is due in March, so I have some time, but I just kind of want to get it off the needle so I don't have to worry about it. Because also, like, one of the babies arrived like 6 weeks early, so that kind of threw me off. Not that that baby will need this sweater for a while, but... Okay, and that is With Drops Baby Merino. Yeah, which was has been my go-to baby yarn because it's easy, it's affordable, and it's also accessible to me, like very accessible. So that's that. Baby knits out of the way. Right, okay, I have an exciting kind of project that I'm doing for myself and then some exciting acquisitions. So I've had this yarn in my stash for 3 years. It's the Garthenor Organic Snowdonia Sock, which is organic Romney and Hebridean wool. So it's a Scottish wool blend. But this brand is Welsh, I think. It is Welsh. And I bought it when I was living in the UK. And I bought it for a specific project because my husband and I went hiking on the Llyn Peninsula in North Wales. And there was this house that I saw, and it had this roof with this kind of pretty slate tiling detail. I'll insert a picture. It's not the best picture ever, but it was my like reference photo when I walked past the house. And I was like, that, I could turn that into knitting. Like that looks like a shawl or a blanket or like something just knitty. Like, and I couldn't get that roof out of my mind. But yeah, so then I'll get to the but later. I went home and I was like searching. I wanted to make something special. I wanted it to be kind of like representative of Wales. So I used to live in Wales. I lived in Wales for 2 years in North Wales, and I love that. I love the country. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, underrated country. Just so you know, if you're wanting to travel to the UK and you're thinking of places to go, don't skip out on Wales, especially North Wales. Don't skip out. It's just gorgeous. There's so much to do and see there, and people just overlook it completely. Anyhow, yes, so I went online and I found a Welsh brand of yarn, and then I discovered that the Snowdonia sock, which Snowdonia is a national park in North Wales, which I hiked in all the time. We went there because when we lived in Wales, we were like 30 minutes away from Snowdonia National Park. Yeah, so all of their yarn, the colorways are named after like mountains or places within the park. And so that drew me in right away. And I was like, this is perfect, because the hike that we did where I saw the roof wasn't exactly in the national park, but it was just outside of it on the Flynn Peninsula. So I was like, this will work. Like, this will be fine. So I picked the colorway Trevan, which is, I'll show you the label. Yeah, it's Trevan, which is one of the kind of more iconic mountains in the northern Snowdonia National Park range, and I love that mountain. I think it's gorgeous. It's very striking compared to the ones around it, and so I was like, this is perfect. It's like the color of the roof. It's named after like one of my favorite mountains in Snowdonia. It's a Welsh yarn, gonna do a Welsh project. It's like everything's falling into place. But I got the yarn and I ordered 5 skeins of it, and it's quite a rustic yarn, which is fine. I'm fine with that. But I was a little bit like, ooh, is this going to be good enough for like a blanket? Like, this is kind of not blanket material. I started knitting it up anyways, and I found that the definition of the texture that I was trying to create wasn't quite there. The yarn kind of swallowed it up a little bit. Like I wanted things to pop out a little bit more, like we were doing some sort of like scalloped situation and then like a brick kind of motif, and things just laid too flat and you couldn't really quite tell the definition of what was happening. So I was really disappointed that it didn't work out. But you live and you learn. So I frogged that project. I don't even know if I have any pictures of it, but if I do, I will post the picture of it. And I kind of gave up on the project, which is fine. Like, not everything works out, but I still wanted to use this yarn for something because it's special to me. It's special to me. So it had been sitting in my stash for a few years, and I finally decided to cast something on with it and just go for it. So on January 1st, so this was my new year kind of cast on, I started knitting the Peacock shirt by Lene Holme Samsøe, because I wanted to see if instead of like outward, what am I saying? There's like a subtle lace kind of detail to the Peacock shirt, and I wanted to see if this yarn would work for that rather than something that I wanted to be bold. So this is it. I finished the yoke. I've split for sleeves. I worked to the end of my second skein, and then I decided to start the sleeves because I have 5 skeins, so I don't know exactly how long I can go. So I'm going to do my sleeves first and then decide how long the sweater can be based on how much yarn I have left. It is quite rustic, sorry. It is quite rustic, but I don't mind. I think I would have minded, like when I first bought this yarn, I probably wouldn't have thought this is great for a sweater or a shirt or anything like that, because I would have thought that it was too rough, but actually now I'm used to that kind of thing and I think it's perfect. Oh, I did forget to mention that I'm doing long sleeves. So the shirt calls for a short sleeve, but I wanted like a full sweater, but I wanted a thin sweater. So this gauge is like its fingering gauge, whereas the Peacock sweater by Lene Holme Samsøe is like DK or higher, I think. But I didn't want that gauge. I wanted a thin sweater. So I'm using the shirt pattern, but I'm lengthening the sleeves to be full length, which is why I wasn't sure how far my skeins would go. So I think this is pretty well done for me for a fingering weight sweater, as in like the amount of progress that I've made so far on it, because I thought this would take me absolutely ages. And not saying that it hasn't taken many, many hours, but it's going through a lot faster than I thought it would. So that's really exciting. Yeah, you can kind of see like the peacocky details there. And it is subtle. It's definitely not as defined as it would be in a different yarn, but I actually really like that, the subtleness that it's giving. It kind of reminds me of like more vintage sweaters, where things like vintage, but in our time. So like sweaters that were knitted like ages ago but then have kind of worn out over time so that they kind of look like a ghost of what they used to be kind of thing. I don't know if that's a little bit too silly and romantic to say, but like it just, yeah, it feels a little bit more worn in this wool already, and not in a bad way, but in like a classic romantic way. So I'm actually really, really chuffed. Like I'm really excited about this. Yeah, I'm going to work on it all evening tonight because I'm going to a girls' night. We're going to watch Anne of Green Gables and have like raspberry mocktails for raspberry cordials. So I'm going to sip on raspberry mocktails and watch Anne of Green Gables and knit on this tonight. So I'm really excited to do that. And I'm excited to finally use up my Snowdonia sock yarn and to wear a nice sweater named after Trevan because I desperately miss hiking in that area. Not to say that we don't have amazing hikes here in British Columbia. I am spoiled for hikes, but it's just a different vibe when you're hiking through farmland and ancient walls and sheep and just, it's different. Here we're hiking through like dense boreal forest, which is gorgeous, but it's just different. It's a different, completely different vibe. So anyway, that's that. 2 more things to talk about, and they are acquisitions. I haven't really gone in order, I've just realized. I've done like finished objects and then whips. No, is that the order we're meant to? I don't know. We're not meant to do anything. We can do whatever we want. Anyhow, we're doing kind of acquisitions now and plans. So I went to the yarn shop 2 weeks ago, my local yarn shop, to get a new set of interchangeable 3mm needles because mine are wearing down. I like wooden needles, but because they're 3mm, they're quite thin, so they kind of they get beat up a bit. So anyway, I needed a new pair for this because I wasn't comfortable using the pair that were mangy. But then I saw that they were having a yarn sale. So, and I had some money from Christmas to use up. And so I picked up 2 little skeins for future kid knit. So I'll just show them to you really quick. They were 50% off, so I got 2 for the price of 1. And it's an Alpaca Peru Lana Grossa. I've never used that yarn brand before. Lana Grossa Alpaca Peru 200. Yeah, made in Italy. Quite fun. 100% alpaca. And yeah, this was the only color that they had like in the sale and the only 2 skeins that they had. Purple is not my color. I don't like purple very much. My husband actually really doesn't like purple, but we have a daughter who's a toddler, so I'm assuming that a purple pink unicorn stage is in our future, which is fine with me. Our daughter does not need to fall into the aesthetic that I prefer. So I picked these up for her, and so I'm thinking of using it for like a white and purple striped sweater eventually, something like that. Like it won't be completely purple, but have purple hints in it. And it's got like this feathery look to it. It's not like a solid color, which I really like. Yeah, so that's the plan for that. I just picked it up for future knits for her. Don't really know what that's going to look like. The striped thing was just an idea. But if you've ever worked with Lana Grossa yarn before, I would be interested to know what you think of it, because it is super soft. I mean, it's alpaca. It's going to be super soft, but it's beautiful. And I like the label a lot. So I'll just show you the label. It's got the price tag on it, but obviously it was 50% off of that. It's just a little alpaca. Yeah, it's really cute. So, okay. One more thing, and I'm really excited about this. I went to Kensington Prairie Farms for the first time. So if you're from BC, you might know about Kensington Prairie Farms. It's kind of in between Langley and Aldergrove, in like the farm area between those 2 towns. So I did have to drive to get there because I'm not from those towns. But yeah, I decided to go kind of a spur of the moment last Saturday because I think they're only open on weekends. But anyway, they're an alpaca farm, an alpaca kind of rescue farm. They said they rescue a lot of their alpacas. And they use the wool for making, wool, hairs, alpaca fibers. They use the fibers for making yarn and making garments and all sorts of things like that. So I had to go and check it out. So we went and we got like a little tour, and I picked up some goodies from the farm, which I will show you in a minute. But yeah, it was really good. She walked us through, like the person who gave us the tour kind of walked us through the different types of alpaca that they have, which are just the two main types, the Surrey and the Huacaya alpaca, which Huacaya is the most common type of alpaca, and then Surrey is kind of a little bit more rare. And they said that they had 130 alpacas, and only, I'm going to get this wrong, but it was like less than 10 of them were Surrey, and the rest of them were Huacaya, but I don't remember the exact number. Anyhow, yeah, so we looked around at the alpacas. My daughter got spit in the face by an alpaca. She was fine. She was just confused. And then I went into the shop and I talked to the lady about the yarn and how it's processed and how it's spun and all sorts of things like that. And she told me that from shearing to final yarn, like spun and in the shop, it takes about 5 years. 5 years. And when you think about that, then you think about the cost of everything that happens and why it costs how much it does cost. And to be fair, it wasn't outrageously expensive. But she said that there are only 2 places in all of Canada that will spin alpaca. And one of them is in Alberta, so that's our next province over from BC, like we're next door to them. And so, but they only take like massive bulk orders. So she said we have to gather all of the fibers that we collect over a few years and then ship it all at once. And then it gets processed, it gets spun, and it gets like combined with other fibers sometimes too, like whatever they're doing. And then it gets back to the shop and then it can be sold. So they had, most of their alpacas were blends, and she said that was just for like structural integrity because alpaca is very drapey when it's by itself. It'll make a garment stretch out quite a bit if you just hold it just by itself. So yeah, so there was cotton alpaca blends, merino alpaca blends, and silk alpaca blends were the main ones that I saw in the shop. And so I decided to buy a sweater's quantity of alpaca fiber, and I chose the silk alpaca blend. So I picked up 5 skeins of the white and 1 skein of this brown so that I can make a colorwork sweater with these yarns. So the main color will be white, and then I'll have brown. Brown is my contrast color. And this yarn is so soft. It is so soft. I was shocked. Like all of the yarns there were soft. I didn't really want to go with the cotton alpaca blend because I don't love working with cotton. Like I'll work with a cotton blend sometimes, but I'd rather avoid it. And then I thought I could get an alpaca merino blend anywhere, but an alpaca silk blend is something that I don't really see that often, so I decided to go for that. And I will let you know how much these cost. It depended on the weight of the skein, so like this skein is 106 grams. Sorry, my camera stopped because I ran out of time again. Okay, so each skein is individually priced because they weigh slightly different. So the skein is, this white one is 106 grams at 20 cents a gram. So that equaled to 21.20 Canadian dollars. But this one is 102 grams. So I paid 20 pounds. I'm not in the UK anymore. $20.40 for this one. So that's how they work their pricing. I'm super excited. I'm super excited. It was so surreal to be holding this yarn while looking at the alpacas who it came from. So that was just awesome. It was so cool. And they also said that I should come back for their annual shearing event that happens in May. Usually in April, but they said this year was in May. So I have it marked in my calendar and I might go back. So if you want to go to the annual shearing event at Kensington Prairie Farms in May, I might see you there. So I'm going to try to go to that. So then when I came home, I started brainstorming about all of these different projects that I could do. I did forget to say that these are DK weight, so I figured that was a pretty safe weight to assume that lots of colorwork jumpers can fall into. But I really wanted to crack open my Arctic Knits book by the Petite Knitter. And I found the perfect project in this book. Let me just pull up the picture for you. Do you see that? Do you see what that is? That's alpacas. There's alpacas on this sweater. So anyway, that kind of sealed the deal for me. And I think I'll be around. I'll be hitting around gauge. I'll have to do a swatch. I still have to do a swatch for it, but I think it will work out. Yeah, the only thing is, I looked at this, I looked at all the pictures that were available for this jumper, and I realized that the alpaca colorwork motif goes down quite far, and I probably wouldn't want the yoke to go that deep. So I'm going to see if I can fudge it a little bit and like bring everything up or take an element out to make it shorter or something, because I don't really want that. Yeah, I don't want the yoke to be as deep as it is. But yeah, I thought that was the perfect project. And actually, there are alpacas in it, but my favorite element of the colorwork is like the leaf line that is above the alpacas. That's kind of my favorite part of it. So I think I'm going to do that. Hopefully. Okay, so this is all weather dependent, but wouldn't it be cool to wear that sweater to the shearing in May? Yeah, but it's May, so it's kind of up in the air whether or not the weather is gonna cooperate. Like if it's gonna be cold enough to wear a colorwork sweater in May. I don't know. Some Mays are cold enough, and some were full blast summer. So we'll see how that does, but that's my plan, is to have that finished by the shearing so I could wear it to the shearing. So anyway, as you can see, I'm like beaming about this. I'm so excited. Like every day I've been like feeling the yarn. I've just been like grabbing it out of the bag and squishing it and everything. And the lady at the shop was so knowledgeable about the yarn. So yeah, if you ever do go there and have questions, she's like enthusiastic and like wanting to answer all your questions. So they also gave me like an instruction care card for how to take care of the yarn, and then just like a notepad with alpacas on it. So that was just included in my purchase. But yeah, it was a very, very exciting weekend to go there and get the yarn and stuff. So that's everything for me. Lately, I have some spring plans, I think, that I'm going to maybe talk to you about in the next video, because yeah, I have some projects that I really want to tackle in this next season, like in late winter into early spring. And I would love to talk to you guys about it, but I think I'll just save it for the next video, because this one has had a lot and I feel like I'm talking super fast. I need to calm down. But also my husband is out on a hike with our daughter and they're due to be back quite soon. So I need to get going and get my stuff cleaned up. So anyways, yeah, I'm super excited. Thank you so much for chatting, or listening to me chat. But I want the conversation to keep going. So do leave a comment telling me either what you worked on, or if you've been to Kensington Prairie Farms, or if you've worked with Snowdonia sock yarn, or if you've been to Wales. I'd love to know. and what you thought of it, because it's just a gorgeous country. Anyway, thanks friends for being here, and I will see you next time.